Yeah, anything that's controversial, culture related, those are the questions we get all the time. There's several passages throughout the Bible. You look in Old Testament law, there's a couple in Leviticus that are pretty harsh, I'd say, in terms of describing homosexual behavior as an abomination. So that's a sin that's unnatural, not just a sin as in this is something that violates God's law, but this is a sin that's actually goes against nature, how we're actually created. In the New Testament, there's several passages in 1 Corinthians it lists homosexuality in a passage of describing people who, if you live like this, you will not inherit the kingdom of God. In Romans chapter 1, it describes people who have rebelled against God, who have denied God, and then God gives them over to ever increasing wickedness, and it describes homosexuality in that passage. And there are a couple of others, but the consistent message in the Bible is that homosexuality is not something that honors God. It's not something that God intends. It's not something he designed the human body to participate in. It's not what God's picture for marriage, for sex, etc., etc. The mistake most Christians, not most, a lot of Christians make is viewing homosexuality as like the worst of all sins, or the greatest sin, or a sin that God will not forgive. And none of that is true. Homosexuality is no more or less forgivable than heterosexual adultery. So many people will condemn homosexuality, and yet they themselves are participating in sexual immorality on a heterosexual side. And the Bible has way more to say about that than it does homosexuality. So yes, I believe the Bible's clear that homosexuality is a sin, and yet at the same time, it is not an unforgivable sin. It is not a sin that is exempt from Jesus' sacrifice. Someone who struggles with homosexual tendencies has just as much access to salvation and forgiveness through Christ as anyone else.